If you ask someone what their favourite Sonic animation is, I can imagine the typical responses would be SatAM, Mania Adventures, Sonic X, that, and even the OVA. Most people will instantly turn to the cartoons that were shown on TV and pretty much be done with it. However, the question wasn't, what was your favourite Sonic cartoon? It was, what was your favourite Sonic animation? And when you think of it that way, there are loads of examples of Sonic animations out there that we typically overlook, but some of them are really well done and deserve a moment in the spotlight. So let's take a long overdue look at some of the lesser known Sonic animations that everybody tends to forget about. But before some smart aleck out there comments, well, you see, animation is the illusion of giving life to a still image, so technically all the video games are also examples of animation in some way. Yes, I know, that's very true. In fact, if I wanted to be strict, this entire video could list every Sonic game ever and every cutscene from every Sonic game ever. But I'm not going to be listing any video games for this list, because I think it's more interesting to look at stuff which is outside of the video games themselves, and otherwise if I included video games, this video would likely be several hours long and would take me several months to finish. There will, however, be one or two special exceptions to that rule, which you'll probably understand when we get to them. And in addition to this, I'll also only be glancing over the Sonic TV cartoons for fairly obvious reasons. I'm going to try and cover this list in a somewhat chronological order from when they were first released. And with that out of the way, we start at the very beginning, quite literally. Throughout the 1990s, Japan went crazy for TV adverts that included a Sonic animation of some sort, and the very first Sonic game was no exception to this. The first TV advert for Sonic 1 originates from Japan, and it depicts Sonic in a claymation form. Sonic dances in the backseat of a chauffeur-driven car, and as the advert progresses, Sonic jumps onto the car's bonnet, or hood as you guys in America call it, and performs a breakdance-style spin. He appears again, this time in the back seat as he performs a few more dance moves, before finally jumping in front of the Sega logo. And this Sega logo animation would be used in several adverts throughout the years in Japan. The advert is extremely good, all things considered. Sonic is very accurate and his 3D model is very well done. And whilst the footage has never been re-released in high definition, you can still make out a lot of detail on the model, making it the first and one of the most accurate Sonic models ever made for a TV advert and animation. Alongside the claymation advert was a more traditional 2D animation advert, which is really quite amazing. The advert consists of several scenes, most of which show Sonic in some form of peril, before ending with Sonic flying off in a spaceship to what looks like an early Death Egg concept. The scenes here are quite amazing. They look as if they should have been part of an actual cartoon show, considering the effort that went into them. A really strange part of the animated scenes is the very final one appears to be cut short. Just before the scene changes, there are a few frames which, when slowed down, make it look like Sonic was about to wink, but then it cuts to the claymation stop-motion animation from the first advert. I would love to see these re-released in full HD quality, as well as someone to just go on record as to if there was a larger story behind these sequences. The United States took a different approach when it came to commercials from the Japanese. Whilst Japan focused on animation, the US was more focused on live action. But that said, they did include some animated Sonics within their adverts, and quite often these were short, just a few frames, and were often used in multiple adverts. One of the larger ones was from the so-called Hag commercial. There's a picture of Sonic in a picture frame which reacts to the woman in the advert. He gets more annoyed and eventually pulls a face at her before running away. There's not much to say here. From what little there is, it's done pretty well. Sonic is very accurate to his American design at the time, and the animation is okay considering how small it is. The advert ends with another animation which would be recycled throughout many of the adverts in the United States. It shows Sonic lean towards the camera and wink whilst holding a thumbs up. Again, there's not much to say, it's just a nice animation, and Sonic is very accurate in his design. There was, however, one interesting point I noticed. In the Hag commercial, the ending animation is framed so that you can't see Sonic's feet. But in this other commercial, they use the exact same animation, and due to the lack of framing, you can actually see Sonic in full, and they did actually give him feet. One other interesting part of this animation is that this was in the early 90s when it was created, but this animation itself would be used again in 1997 for a Sega World Sydney commercial. In 1992, Tiger Electronics released the Sonic version of their notoriously bad gaming devices. Along with these devices typically came a TV advert to help promote them. And like with the proper Sonic games, there was a Sonic animation in the commercials. There's actually two animations at play here. The first is a variation of the Hag animation, only Sonic is pulling the face at you, so you'd see what the lady saw. It's also much better animated than the Hag commercial, and as Sonic runs away, it's much clearer for the viewer to actually see what's going on. The second animation is a recreation of the Hag animation, but as he winds up for the dash, his legs and feet completely vanish. I can see what they were trying to do with this, but it just doesn't work. At the most, one leg should vanish as it goes behind the other, but both legs in this case just completely disappear. And the advert ends with the same winking animation from before. The Game Gear version of Sonic 1 also saw widespread promotion throughout the world, which involved several TV adverts and commercials. In the United States, one such advert saw the inclusion of the Hag and the improved animations from the Tiger Electronics adverts. But Sonic would run to the left instead of the right in this time. This advert also had some additional spin attack animations showing Sonic moving wildly around the screen. They also included some new footage of Sonic running towards the screen, which again is on par with the quality of the Tiger adverts. In Europe, various Sonic animations were used throughout the 90s in order to promote Sonic and other Sega products. France especially had a huge number of Sega-related TV adverts, which were sometimes accompanied with an animated Sonic. These were spread out over the 90s and crossed over into other territories like the United States, Spain, and Italy. The first animation is a simple ending animation, often found for games which were not Sonic related. The next animation is awesome for multiple reasons. I love how they tied the in-game jumping to the animation itself. But aside from the nice editing, the animation itself is just great. Sonic looks fantastic. His expressions are varied, his design is spot on, there's a lot to like about this. A brilliant animation for the time, and this animation would be recycled for lots of adverts across Europe due to how good it was. Another series of animations which were of equal quality can be found in this French commercial which advertised Sonic 2. There's a lot of really nice work here. Sonic shows lots of expressions as he runs into shots, he interacts with the scenery, and even comes flying in from the side. I really like this section of animation, because when you look closely at the art style, it makes it look like it was drawn for a 90s era comic book. There's just something about Sonic which appears to have been coloured in using pencils, as opposed to paint or some kind of digital effects. And finally, this advert appeared across Europe when Sonic & Knuckles was being released. I even remember seeing it on TV when I was younger. It shows the heads of Sonic and Knuckles as wireframe 3D models. Various statistics about the characters are displayed, and a voiceover would also read out some of their statistics. It's not a great animation, but it's still an animation. In 1992, Italy had some really cool Sonic animations which spanned several years of promotional material. You might recognise some of these from my video about the 1992 Sonic the Hedgehog pin badge competition. These animations accompanied both the Sonic pin badge competition and other Italian commercials for Sega products. And what can I say? They're all fantastic. Sonic has a range of expressions, his animations are clear and varied, they even edit the animations so it looks like he's interacting with the advert's host. They're fantastic. There's even a small chunk which shows Sonic with a Mobius-style background, making it look like an episode from a cartoon. A really cool footnote for this animation is that someone actually has one of the animation cells from this sequence. Yes, a few of them actually survived. Every single one of these animations is just great. There is, however, only one small problem, which is that they gave Sonic blue arms. And of course, we have the competition animations, which edited them slightly to give Sonic the death ray eyes. See my previous videos for details on that story. The UK had one unique animated Sonic advert during the early 90s, and it's pretty terrible. It's barely an animation, it's just a couple of edits to give the illusion that Sonic is wagging his finger and tapping his foot. It's bad, and it will forever be bad. Anyway, oh. In 1991, Russia made their now infamous Sonic TV quiz show, complete with a CGI Sonic opening sequence. So, aside from that early 90s CG charm, the design isn't too horrible. They got Sonic's arm colour right, and there's even details on his gloves and shoes. The animation itself is basic, not as detailed as some that we've seen so far. But the in-show 2D animations are another story. Throughout the show, Sonic would react to what was happening at that particular moment. It's a charming little animation. In fact, it's one of the contenders for best Sonic animations ever done. His design is absolutely spot on. The animations are all very well done, and there's lots of different states that Sonic can be in. He walks and waves, he can jump up and down, perform a mid-air spin, he also points and laughs at the host. There's also a blink and you'll miss it state where he raises his arms and does whatever this expression is. And then later in the episode, he does this animation again, but it's accompanied by a scream. He'll also tap his foot impatiently, and Sonic also has a confused or thinking animation whenever the contestants are asked a question. He'll also turn to the camera and shrug his shoulders as if he's got no idea what the answer to the question is either. And there's a similar animation showing Sonic thinking deeply about the quiz. There's a rare animation which isn't used that often in the show. He wags his finger towards the contestants as if he's telling them off for doing something wrong. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it definitely looks like he's having a bit of a nag at them. The show also places Sonic in a state which is rare for any medium. Outside some of the TV cartoon shows, I can't think of many instances where we actually see Sonic cry. But there it is, and again, it's done very well. Sonic will close his eyes, shake his head and body as if someone has made a huge mistake. And he also points to the left of the screen and says something. I don't know what he says, so please let me know in the comments what's actually going on here. The show's final ending card even shows an animation of Sonic waving goodbye to the audience, almost as if he's saying, "Goodbye, thank you for watching the show." Sadly, the following animations are only available in black and white. We first have Sonic clapping his hands, and then this other animation. It's the only animation across all the shows that have been released where Sonic faces the right of the screen. He performs a wave and actually says, "I'm here." Okay, so whilst I was actually editing this video, I discovered 3 additional animations that Sonic can be in. The first one is of him looking kinda shocked, and then the next 2 appear one after the other. The first one, he puts his hands to his cheeks and sort of moves his head from side to side. I have no clue what this is. And then the next one is even more strange, and there's some actual dialogue with it as well. So let me know what's going on here if you have any idea. There's a lot of content here for a random quiz show which only ran for a couple of weeks, and the animations are all really good, and they put some of the more professional, elaborate animations to shame. Their quality level is so high. It's really good and really impressive for what was just a short-lived TV show. Upon the release of the Mega Drive 2, Indian audiences were treated to this advert, which again showed a pretty good Sonic animation, complete with a unique voice.
Hey kid, what you doing watching this stupid film? Don't you want to have fun playing Sega?
Sega who?
Wrong answer, pal. Show him. Take it. Want some more?
Yeah!
Sonic's design is completely accurate, and his animation is quite good. It's just a shame that no higher quality rip of the advert exists. If you can get past the fact that Sonic basically destroys this kid's house, it's quite a good advert overall. In 1994, a small experimental animation was created by the Tokyo Movie Shinsha Company in conjunction with Sega AM3, entitled Sonic Man of the Year. It played in some theme parks as well as some other public venues, and the plot of this animation is that Eggman becomes filled with rage as Sonic is named Man of the Year, so he disguises himself as Sonic and performs various pranks and causes a major traffic accident in the nearby city. People thinking that it's actually Sonic that did all this suddenly turn on him and a near riot breaks out. The segment ends with a "to be continued," but sadly, it never was. For a short experimental piece, it's fantastic. The CG sequences, granted, look a bit dated, but the actual animation itself is top quality. It looks like it could easily fit into a 90s Saturday morning cartoon slot. The animation has even influenced Sonic Mania Adventures, as in the Christmas special, Eggman wears the same pyjamas as he does in this short. Similar to the Man of the Year, only composed entirely of computer-generated imagery, the Sonic ride was an attempt to give the viewer a first-person perspective into Sonic's world. Sonic does appear in the animation, and he looks really good, even for early 90s computer-generated imagery. We're shown some segments of Sonic's world, and even several badniks also make an appearance. Everything is very well designed. The main issue is the ending when we eventually see Eggman. Whilst Eggman's actual model looks very good, his movements are animated very poorly. This section is by far the worst quality that the animation gets. Unfortunately, the ride itself was never developed further outside of this video stage. Despite this, parts of the video were used in commercials for Sonic and Sega products across Europe during the early to mid-90s. So I'm now going to mention in passing the first two Sonic cartoons, in passing for obvious reasons. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was the first TV cartoon. Its animation overall isn't very good. Sat.AM was another TV cartoon released around the same time. It does have very good animation, and what you're seeing here is some pilot footage from the show. When the Mega CD was launching in Japan, they made a clay model Sonic, sat him on top of a globe, and he had some crazy spinning eyes. Let's just enjoy it for a moment. Alright everyone, let's move on. When Sonic 2 was being released in Japan, they continued the trend to create new Sonic animations to promote Sega and the various Sonic titles. Several elaborate animations were done to help with this. Dubbed Welcome to Sonic Land, this animation saw you take a first-person view as you followed Sonic and Tails through a couple of zones from the game. It's an almightily impressive animation. Aside from the work on both Sonic and Tails, the moment when they go through the loop is very impressive. Even the opening and ending cards are also very well done. So I said at the start that I might have one or two exceptions for including animations found in a video game. This is one of those exceptions. For a very long time, fans decided that Sonic CD had the definitive animated Sonic short. Sonic CD contained 2 lengthy animated sequences, plus several short scenes in the ending credits. These cutscenes absolutely captured the speed, the tone, and the ability of both Sonic and the game itself. At the time, these sequences blew us all away. For years, fans would cry out for a TV show based off these sequences, and whilst the OVA or Sonic movie came close, it never quite hit the same wow moment that Sonic CD's animations did. But if you lived in Japan, you had one extra awesome animation. The advert for Sonic CD in Japan had an incredible sequence which wasn't included in the game. It shows Sonic and Metal Sonic square off against each other. It wouldn't be until Sonic Jam that Western audiences saw this for the first time. However, it's not that great in terms of actual animation. Other than when Metal Sonic powers up at the start, there's very little going on here. But that said, it's still really cool, even to this day. Over in Spain, when Sonic 2 was preparing for release, a strange promotional video was created. It contained a 3D animated sequence which was heavily themed around Sonic 1. The segment opens with a 3D Sonic wagging his finger and tapping his foot, and the design is spot on and it looks very good for early 90s 3D computer graphics. Sonic's movements are very smooth, though his legs do seem to clip through each other at the end of this particular animated sequence. At the end of the video itself, a new clip plays which shows a CG-inspired final zone from Sonic 1 and an Orbonaut Badnik. Sonic slowly appears as if he's the T-1000 from Terminator 2, and then he shoots a fireball at the Badnik. Sonic himself isn't animated at all here, even when he's fully rendered. But the sequence is just so strange and bizarre. I figured it would be kind of a little crime if I didn't mention it at all. For decades, Sega consoles have been released in Brazil under the Tectoy brand, and they've had some interesting adverts to help sell them along the way. An advert for Sonic 2 shows Sonic and Tails designed very differently to their official style. They appear much younger than they normally do, and they were given awful high-pitched voices.
Oi, eu sou o Sonic, e este é o meu amigo Tails. Nós estamos no jogo Sonic 2. Corre aqui pra me ajudar no Sonic 2 da Tectoy.
But aside from that, the actual animation in the advert isn't too bad. Just that the art style is so strange to look at, and it's a crime on your ears when you actually listen to it. What makes this advert even stranger is that Tectoy actually made another advert a few years prior, which had a more accurately designed Sonic, and the voice acting was also much better. Take a listen. The animation on Sonic isn't too bad. However, for his running animation, due to the way they did it, it looks like they removed his entire body. So Sonic is just a head with legs running along the screen. A lot like that Gotta Go Fast meme. But memes aside, it's actually quite a nice animation, all things considered. Just a shame we don't have a higher copy of it. In 1993, the Mega Drive 2 was released in Japan, and to promote this, a small TV advert featuring Sonic and Tails performing a magic act was made. The animation itself is very simple. There isn't too much going on here, but it's a nice little thing nonetheless. The Game Gear games also saw new animations for their TV adverts. Sonic and Tails, also known as Sonic Chaos, had an animation involving Sonic, Tails and Eggman running throughout. This is a very impressive short. I might be wrong, but Sonic and Tails appear to have been 2D hand-drawn, whilst Eggman's mech looks really different. It's almost 3D or some kind of stop-motion puppet. Just watch the animation, but keep an eye on the mech. Something about it just looks really different to Sonic and Tails. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. The two animations interact with each other very well. The only problem is, when Sonic and Tails return, virtually all their animation just stops, and they remain very static. It's very noticeable when Tails flies across the screen at the end. When Sonic Spinball made its way to Japan, it resulted in a notorious advert for one specific line.
Funky action!
Funky action. The advert included an animation of a 3D Sonic being battered around a pinball table. As funny as it is, the animation itself is kind of basic. You don't really see too much of Sonic until the final moment when he flies towards the camera. It's not the worst animation ever made, but it's certainly not the best by a long shot. Another Japanese advert, this time for Sonic Drift Racing. This animation is an absolute joy. Everything is animated to a very high standard. It's an absolute classic video game advert. It's the one you have to watch multiple times because the animation is so fast and frantic, you'll easily miss tiny details that they included in this one. It's an absolute classic advert, and it's a really good animation. In 1994, Sonic 3 was being released, and along with it, there was a very small animation which was included into a mostly live-action Japanese TV advert. Sonic breaks out of the box, wags his finger, performs a small gesture. It's only a few seconds long, but it's smooth, very well detailed. It reminds me a lot of the Sonic animations from the HAG and Tiger Electronic adverts. And the advert also ends with a small title card animation, which isn't as good, but it's there. So I've now pretty much covered all the original Sonic animations from the classic era of games. By now you've probably noticed that when it came to video games, Japan favoured animated adverts whilst the West incorporated more live action elements into theirs. Well, that wasn't the case with adverts for other products that weren't video games. There's a large number of promotional items which included original Sonic animations which were released in the West. So let's take a look at those now. In 1992, Swiss-made dairy products had a promotional tie-in with Sega for their yogurts. I'm unsure as to the exact details of this promotion, but the advert which accompanied it had some very impressive animation. Sonic and Tails are based on their Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog designs, and they star in this one, and unusually, Tails takes the lead role in it, not Sonic. The animation is great. The characters are very well detailed and they move very smoothly throughout the scene. The main issue, though, is with the voice acting. Tails sounds perfectly fine. In fact, take a listen.
School holidays. I don't know where they get the energy.
But Sonic, who has only 2 lines of dialogue, sounds awful. Just listen to this.
Phew, what's that? Phew.
It's a decent advert, just the voice acting's a bit awful. In 1993, Hidden Valley Salad Dressing had a tie-in with Sega, which saw Sonic stickers released with some of their products. The TV advert for this promotion showed some very basic animations of Sonic, Tails and Robotnik based on their design from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog TV show. I can't really comment too much on these because the animations are pretty poor. They're too small and they just move too fast to see anything clearly. McDonald's are no stranger to Sega and Sonic tie-ins, but when it was the anniversary of the McDonald's Happy Meal, they began a promotion which saw some of their most popular tie-ins come back to celebrate the event. The commercial for this promotion saw Sonic playing a cameo role alongside Barbie and some other famous cartoon characters. 2 adverts were created, and Sonic got a big focus in one advert, and both of the commercials have some really good quality animation. Sonic looks great and is animated really well, although it's such a strange moment to see Sonic helping Barbie hang up decorations. But otherwise, it's a nicely done small piece of history. 1994 saw a promotional partnership with Cheerios. The advert involved Buzz the Bee racing against Sonic. Unfortunately for Sonic fans, the animation on Sonic is very poor in this. Sonic appears stiff and keeps the same expression throughout. The bee, on the other hand, is animated better in every way. The animation on Sonic does improve at the very end of the commercial. He performs gestures similar to those found in the Tiger Electronics advert before quickly running off. 1994 also saw promotion between Sega and Lifesavers. Sonic appeared in 2 TV adverts that included some very basic animations, and sadly, both of these are not very good. One has barely any movement aside from Sonic's feet, and you really have to be looking closely to see there's any movement here at all. The other has some slightly better running animation, but there's sadly not very much here, so there's just not very much I can say on it. A year later, in 1995, Australian ice cream manufacturer Topper created a Sonic-themed ice cream, and to promote it, they created an utterly stunning, if not slightly twisted, animated Sonic segment. What appears to be Sat-AM Robotnik is tied to a chair and effectively tortured by Sonic and Tails. The animation quality is fantastic. It looks like it could be a scene from a long-lost episode of the actual cartoon that it's based on. But it does have some nightmare fuel moments, in the fact that at the end, Robotnik is electrocuted, and you can actually see his skeleton. I'm just going to mention this briefly. The Sonic OVA is a lot of fun. Despite the obvious flaws it has, go and watch it. The moments where Sonic destroys the Badniks are great, and his battle with Metal Sonic is a lot of fun. And now comes the time to mention Sonic Underground. The animation isn't very good. Moving on. Upon the release of the Dreamcast, Sega created a range of commercials which included characters that appeared in their entire game library at the time. These included 3D models of the various Sonic characters from Sonic Adventure. They popped up in adverts for other games as well, such as Crazy Taxi, as well as general console promotional adverts. The animation quality was around the same for each advert, and it was quite high quality as well. But they weren't just stock animation states. They often made original animations per commercial, and they were really good and got a lot of people really excited for the Dreamcast. One such famous example is the Sonic DJ commercial, which shows a huge number of characters across the entire Dreamcast brand at the time dancing at a rave. The Sonic X TV show isn't too bad. I feel a lot of people just like to hate this show. The animation in this one, it's okay. It's mainly got a few bad scripts, and there's that annoying kid. Otherwise it's okay, and worth a check out. During the mid to late 2000s, there wasn't much in terms of unique animations, but McDonald's did sign a promotional deal with Sega that resulted in a lot of new Sonic animations using 3D computer-generated graphics. These animations came out in adverts around the same time as Sonic Heroes. McDonald's really went all out with these promotions. They released a new part in nearly every region of the world to help promote their Happy Meal toys. But the outstanding achievement goes to the advert they made for French territories. They produced this stunning advert. In this advert, we see an amazingly well done 3D Cream and Sonic interacting with live action performers. Sonic appears later into this advert, and he's been done very well, but for some reason, Cream just goes with this scene so much better. The advert is over 10 years old, and it still looks very impressive to present day. It might even be a contender for best 3D Sonic animation outside those done for the games themselves. It's that high in quality. And yet somehow, McDonald's also made another advert around this time, which wasn't as good. This advert was so bad, it became a meme overnight. Just look at it. Do I even need to say it? The quality is the lowest of the low, and the designs are just, that's supposed to be Rouge. It's got to be the worst Sonic animation in history. There's just nothing on this level to compare it. It's shocking how the same global company made one of the most impressive Sonic animations for a TV advert, and yet somehow simultaneously made the worst of all time. After 2010, unique Sonic animations became quite a rare sight. Most TV adverts would resort to just using game footage, such as cutscenes or gameplay. But when Sonic Unleashed was released, there was a small explosion in new animations. Several shorts were made showing Sonic and Chip depicting their adventures across the world. The quality of the animation is the finest you could have got at the time. They nailed the characterization down, and the shorts are generally entertaining. But out of nowhere came one of the most impressive animations to date. Released for free online, Night of the Werehog is just a 10-minute long short designed to promote Sonic Unleashed. The short received global praise from fans and critics, many comparing it to the best of Pixar at the time. If you want to see it today, I recommend getting it through the Japanese PlayStation Network. Whilst it was officially released on YouTube, they never released it at full 1080p, but the PlayStation Network version is at 1080 and is also free to download. In 2012, Progressive Insurance began a new promotion which still has people confused to this very day. I don't know about the rest of you, but I know when I think of Sonic, my mind instantly turns to insurance, which is why Progressive Insurance created an advert that stars Sonic looking for a good car insurance deal. Sonic looks just as good as he does in his CG video game cutscenes, but not much else to say other than it's just a strange crossover which gave us a really great animation. Later in the 2010s, Sega announced that Sonic would be seeing a spin-off series called Sonic Boom. Whilst the games in that were universally negatively received, the cartoon show was wildly praised by fans and critics, and it's easy to see why. The stories were fun and the animation quality was really good. And along with the cartoon came a uniquely made TV advert that, whilst it was designed to advertise Rise of Lyric, it used the cartoon show's assets to create a unique sketch. And the advert is really good. And the sad irony of this whole thing is that other than the TV show, the advert might be the best thing to ever come out of the entire Sonic Boom spin-off. Plus it also gave us Fandom the Cat, whose facial expressions during the entire advert are just hilarious. It would be a long time before we saw any other unique animations, but upon the release of Sonic Mania came something amazing. Sonic Mania Adventures was an in-house made cartoon at Sega, which released to critical acclaim. It has been one of the best received Sonic cartoons of all time, and it's easy to see why. The animation is fantastic. It takes influences directly from the OVA movie and Sonic CD, as well as references from other lesser-known parts of Sonic's history. Mania Adventures is an absolute must-watch for anyone. But a few months ago, rumours started up about a possible second season to Mania Adventures. However, this wasn't quite what happened. Team Sonic Racing Overdrive is the newest animation from the same people who brought us Mania Adventures, and so far only one episode has been released, but the critical reception has been very high. Again, it's easy to see why. The animation quality is on par with Mania Adventures, and from one episode shown so far, it's been very entertaining. And with that, we've now come to the end of all the unique Sonic animations. I have absolutely no doubt that there are probably some more out there, hiding in some commercials. There's no way I got them all, so if I have missed some, please let me know which ones I've missed in the comments. Although I have to admit, when I started looking at this, I did have two preconceptions. The first being there wouldn't be that many, and the second, the majority would be awful. But I have to say, I was very shocked at not only how many there were, but how many of them are really good. It seems that over time, we tend to only remember the really bad animations, like that McDonald's advert. But the truth is, in the history of Sonic animations, for the most part, it's extremely well done. For me though, I think my favourites have to be the old Japanese commercials. It's really hard to pick one, but they just seem to capture the fun and the joy that the games bring me when I play them, which I think is another important part to deciding if these animations are a success, and that's if they reflect the fun and the joy that you get from playing the game. Well, I think that's all I can say on these, but which one was your favourite? I'm really interested to know. Let me know in the comments, and did I miss any? I'm sure I must have missed some. There's bound to be some obscure product tie-in or foreign advert which has an insane animation I'm just not aware of, and probably I've missed something amazingly obvious that I'm just going to kick myself later. So I wouldn't say that this list is conclusive, but it's pretty close. See you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. If you found this video interesting and enjoyed it, please click that like and subscribe button. And if you know anybody else who might be interested, please share it with your fellow friends and minions. If you want to continue the adventures, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And if you'd like to support the work I do further, please consider backing me on Patreon. Or if you'd just like to make a one-off donation, why not treat me to a coffee? Links to both are in the video description. Even the smallest donation is a huge help to keeping this channel going. But most of all, just thank you for taking the time out to watch this video and enjoy the work I do. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you.